as that feels good for you. Karen's here. Hey, Karen from Virginia. Ah, see, Sherry Fico. Thank you. Syracuse, New York. Awesome. Hey, yeah, cool. Susie's here from SLC. What is SLC? I'm sure you're gonna say it, and I'm gonna be like, oh, obviously, that's SLC. Uh, North Carolina. Okay, feel free to keep Salt Lake City. Perfect. That, yeah, tracks. Feel free to keep popping these in. As we're kind of getting grounded, as we're going to dive in and start to talk about building a basic routine, I would love to invite Grace in and share with us what our offer is. Of course, this offer is just for this call. So if you're watching this call later, if you're watching this call at a later date, unfortunately, these all expire. So keep that in mind. But Grace, what do we have going on?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kate. We are offering 25% off site-wide today with the code ASC30minute. And if your order is $200 or more, you will get a free full-size illuminating pro mask, which in my opinion is like the perfect gift ever. So I'm always super excited when we offer it as a free gift because we don't very often. And then a few little things about the code. The code is not applicable towards subscriptions, the Natural Home Collection, or the Beauty Shelf. And like Kate mentioned, if you're watching this at a later date, it is not applicable at all. And then lastly, the code is live until midnight Pacific time tonight. And I think that's about it. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat, and I am more than happy to help.
Cool. Thank you. So, big thing. If you're spending 200 or more and using coupon code ASC30 minute, we're sending you a full size pearl mask. So that looks like this. And it is our personal favorite. Internally, we're kind of obsessed with it. Looks like this. Great, great, great for pretty much every skin type. But I can talk about it a little bit more. So I want to just dive in and start, kind of shaping up what a basic routine looks like for us. And as you have questions, please put them in the chat. I am happy to, kind of get these answered as we're going along. But like I mentioned, this is a very requested kind of tutorial how to build a basic routine. I think what I see a lot of times is people kind of like ad hoc put together items. They might have both an oil and a cream. They might not understand why you need both a serum and a moisturizer. So that is essentially what I want to share with you here. So when we're building a basic routine here with Anne Marie Skincare, we are essentially kind of filling the position of four basic steps. Now, can you add more? Sure. And I might talk about a couple more, but the four basic steps are what you're doing in the morning and what you're doing in the evening. This includes your cleansing step, your toning step, your moisturizer, or excuse me, your serum. Serum comes before moisturizer, and then moisturizer. Why do you need all these steps? Can you just do two? Sure, but they're going to work very synergistically. So we cleanse the skin to essentially prep the skin for the products that we're applying to them. We cleanse the skin to also really, really, really kind of pack in active ingredients. All of our cleansers are formulated with a very specific formulation and it's supporting the skin. This is also, of course, very obviously removing makeup, removing sweat, removing just like any grime that's been accumulated from the day, just to create a more even canvas for all of the products that come. So your first step is your cleansing step. After that, we use a toner. And we are using a toner with Anne Marie Skincare to provide this burst of hydration and this burst of very specialized nutrition. We have toners that are aloe vera juice based. We have toners that are hydrosol based. Those have a little bit more weight to them. We have a lactic toner, but essentially the toner is providing this burst of hydration and then this very specialized intention. On top of that, the toners are also creating this beautiful even canvas. This is really supportive for the serum step, which comes next. Every single one of our serums contains some variation of a humectant. And a humectant is an ingredient that seeks moisture out in its environment in order to pull it to itself so it can plump up. So when we've already misted the skin, when we've already got a little bit of moisture on the skin, when we're applying that serum, it's got that much more fodder to work with. The serum also kind of gets to be integrated in a more even way when we've got the skin nice and damp. If you think of a sponge, skin can be very similar. So, one of my favorite examples is if you have like a spill on the floor or on the counter and it's just this like, wet spot. If you had a bone dry sponge and you set it on top of that, it's probably not going to do that much. It's probably going to just smear it around. If you dampen the sponge, of course, wring it out, but dampen the sponge and then use that to soak up the spill, it tends to do a lot better. And skin is very similar. So when it is dampened, what gets applied to it absorbs faster and absorbs more evenly. And this is true for the body also. So if you are someone who's really into like, our body butter or coconut body oil or radiant skin silk, all of these are great, great body products. If you're applying it to dampen skin, it tends to absorb differently and feel different than if you apply it to, parched, dried skin. So, um, that, this is where the toner kind of goes. Now, the serum and the moisturizer, this tends to confuse people sometime. So we've established we need a cleanser. We've got our toning mist in the routine, toner, toning mist, whichever one you go with. The serum and the moisturizer are different steps. Your serum tends to be nice and thin, right? Let me see if I can show off the serum here. So this is an anti-aging serum. And you'll see that the body of this is nice and light. It will run down the back of my hand. Now, it's aqueous, it's nice and light. It's got this kind of watery feel to it. And also, this is still very hydrating. Because of this very light feel with the serum, they tend to absorb deeper. This also tends to be the step where we are highly prioritizing what active ingredients we're wanting to drive into the skin. Because the serums are that nice thin consistency, they absorb nice and deep. This is when it's really ideal to think about things like changes you would like to elicit in the skin, whether that's you've got dark spots, whether it's drooping, whether it's deep creasing, whatever it is. This is where we're going to want to consider those particular things because the serums, with them driving very deep into the skin, this is where we oftentimes pack powerhouse ingredients. If you go through the ingredient decks of a lot of our serums, you're going to see some very, very potent anti-agers, very potent skin supports, whether that's for skin strengthening, skin resiliency, whether it's actively supporting a more lifted, taut look. Serums are kind of the powerhouse treatment step, treatment used in the sense of what we are addressing, what specifically we are thinking of. Now, these are going to be different than your moisturizers. Moisturizers tend to have some sort of fat component to them. Whether we're going with the oil, whether we're going with the cream, we're utilizing some variation of fat because this really supports the upper barrier of the skin. So you have kind of towards the surface of your layers of skin what we call the acid mantle. And the acid mantle gets very, very supported when we're supporting the barrier of the skin. And we often do that with rich, kind of fatty feeling ingredients. So whether you're going with oil or cream, this is supporting kind of the upper layers of the skin. Now, this is still a very potent step. This is still a very active step. And also, this is the step that we're thinking of when we're wanting to support kind of the moisture level. So how dry are you? Are you very, very dry? Do you get really parched? This is where we're wanting to consider that factor as we're deciding which one is best for us. So I'd love to invite in questions as I'm kind of going along here. If you've hopped on, we're really just talking about what a basic routine looks like. Now, if you've got time here in about 20 minutes, we have a group consultation that's taking place after this. It's going to have its own promo. It's going to have its own discount. It's going to have its own kind of special things going on. But in that one, we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into specific products, into products for specific skin needs. So keep that in mind. But any questions that you have, please, please, please feel free to pop them in here. I did see one that I got sent directly here about the eye area. So how do I help with drooping around the eye area? Okay, that's a great question. So with the eye area, this is kind of expanding on the basic routine. We've already established we're going to use our cleanser, our toner, our serum, and our moisturizer, but we can then kind of go from there, right? So when we're looking at drooping around the eye, you might benefit from either two products or one product. And I'll kind of make that make sense here. So the first one is this one. This is the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum. And the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum is a very thin eye product. It has a serum consistency. So this tends to do best when it's applied either right before or right after your facial serum. The consistency of the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum, if you apply it over your moisturizer, sometimes it doesn't seep through. Sometimes the moisturizer's dense enough that this doesn't get in where we want it. So before the moisturizer, and you have the option to put it on before the serum, this is a kind of powerhouse for lifting and tightening. We have ceramides, we have peptides, we have caffeine, there are stem cells in this particular eye product. So if you have a lot of concern around the eye area, specifically if you're noticing deep creasing or drooping, and I don't know whether for you the drooping is happening, under the brow bone. Sometimes as we age, the tissue around kind of the bottom of the eye can get a little bit droopy, and it almost looks like a little protrusion happening there. So that's it. That's something that can happen too. But this can be very helpful, the fruit ceramide eye serum. Another and or additional option is the eye cream, so the anti-aging eye cream. Now, based on the name, you probably understand that this is going to be a richer eye product. So if you know that you're super dry and you can only go for one, this might be the one that I recommend. But this is also very supportive for drooping. It's got stem cells in it. It's got CoQ10, so it can be very helpful for kind of strengthening the tissue around the eye. This is very, very potent for puffiness. So if you really kind of struggle with puffiness, this does really, really nicely. So again, that's the anti-aging eye cream here. Great, great questions. Let me scroll up. I saw a couple other questions come in. Okay. Um, Jackie needs some help with drooping. So with drooping, when we are noticing that we're losing kind of the lift and the buoyancy, there are a couple things to consider. I think the two most significant, I don't know, ingredient steps, actives would be stem cells. So a serum that has stem cells, whether that's the citrus stem cell serum, whether that's the wild fruit serum, what else? Those might be the only two that have active stem cells. Also, our rejuvenating or restorative facial cream has some stem cells in it. So stem cells, what they are this supportive ingredient that as it seeps into the skin, it kind of triggers your own skin to respond in a similar way to the stem cells. So this is where we often see a more taut and lifted look. Another thing that might be supportive is a regular exfoliant. So really keeping the skin kind of stimulated. And that might happen in the form of something like our lactic toner or the activated night serum. This is our retinol alternative. So this is a really nice one for this nice taut look with the skin. Another thing that I have to mention, a lot of times when we're noticing big changes in the skin, sometimes these are happening on the surface and sometimes these are happening below the surface. And so integrating something like gua sha, this is our gua sha tool, can be very supportive at kind of retraining the skin. And this is something, you would do yours differently. Normally you have a nice layer of oil, but you're kind of gliding this along the skin. And you might give it a little bit of a wiggle. You might kind of drain some lymph, as you're moving it. But this is one of the most supportive tools, the most non-invasive tools that I have come across that can be very supportive for drooping, drooping specifically, and drooping along the jawline, drooping underneath the eye, All of this can be supported with the gua sha here. So, great question. How is the best way to apply the serum and moisturizer? Oh, this is a really great question. So you have some options here, and I want to be clear that with everything I offer, let your skin be your guide. What I usually like to do is I like to mist my skin generously with my toner. Typically, I'm using the Rose Hydrosol. Big fan. And then while skin is dampened, I am applying the serum. I might boost it. So I might do, a little pump of Brighton into the serum in the palm of my hand. Usually the product is in the palm of my hand and I'm taking two fingertips and I'll kind of distribute it. So I'll get it on my cheeks, my forehead, my chin, my nose, whatever's left, I kind of press into my neck and my chest. And then I come in and gently massage it. I usually go right into the moisturizer as my skin is still damp, whether that's oil or cream. Usually it's some variation of oil. I don't very often not wear oil. So but sometimes I do wear the cream with it. And so I might mix in the palm of my hand the restorative facial cream with something like the rejuvenating facial oil, mix it together, and do the same thing. So I'll kind of dot my cheeks, my forehead, my chin, my nose, whatever's left, take it onto my neck, and then just gently blend that in. And that is my favorite way to apply it. Now, you don't have to have skin dampened. I usually encourage, especially when we're on the group consultations, that you try both, right? Try doing it without misting the skin, try doing it misting the skin and see how that feels different. You also have the option, and this is something that, if I'm working with somebody who's finding that the oil is sitting really heavy, it's not absorbing into the skin, you can mix the serum and the oil in the palm of your hand and apply them together. And that is an option too. And it all feels a little different. So with all of these suggestions, if you're curious, try it and see if you like the way it feels. You might not, but these are all, very solid options. Okay, so Victoria uses the oil during the day and the cream at night. Yeah, that's a lot of times how I will do it too. The restorative facial cream is super ceramide rich. And so a lot of times when I sleep with it, I wake up and my skin is just super supple, very, very soft. Um, so you've got that option. Do you have a recommendation for rosacea on the cheeks? So I have potentially a couple recommendations. You're probably going to want to stay very gentle with your routine. So it might look like the aloe herb cleanser. Maybe you're using the botanical hydration mist. This one has a strong chamomile factor to it, so it's very soothing. For active rosacea and just any area of active sensitivity, the probiotic serum is a really nice one. It kind of can depend on how dry you are. So this one is quite hydrating, quite nourishing. We have a probiotic complex and an olive leaf ferment that really help to nourish the flora of the face. So with any kind of experience where the skin's microbiome was thrown off, and this can look like lots of versions of sensitive skin, the probiotic serum can be very helpful at kind of bringing it back into balance. Now, having said that, if you're very, very dry, you might prefer the activated hemp serum, this one here. The activated hemp serum is also very, very soothing with this active hemp component to it, but very rich. So if you're drier, you might like this one. And then as far as moisturizers go, you could do well with either the restorative facial cream. This one tends to do really well for very sensitive skin, as well as the herbal facial oil for sensitive skin. So either, both of those, one of those, they tend to be quite supportive for skin that's on the reactive side. So that would be what I would recommend. And if you're having a lot of flare-ups, something like the illuminating pearl mask, which just to reiterate, especially if you've hopped on since we talked about it, we are giving a full size of this one away with any purchase that is 200 or more with the coupon code that Grace has shared. I don't remember. I think it's ASC 30 minute. But this is very soothing. This is a nice mask to kind of calm down irritation as well. So again, illuminating pearl mask. Great question. And just checking in. So we've got about 8 minutes. We're talking about building a basic routine, but I do want to make sure you know that we have a consultation that starts on the hour after this. It might start a minute after. Um, so if I don't get to your questions, please feel free to roll over to hop into that call, and we're just going to keep the conversation going, hopefully with a little bit more specific information because we'll have a little bit more time. How do I apply the eye cream? So typically, I might just do it to show you. Typically, my skin is dampened, and so I'm gonna just phone it in with that. I'm gonna take my eye cream and I'm gonna pump about this much onto my fingertip. You know, this is like a small pea sized, not super, super huge amount. I'm getting it onto my other finger, and then I'm just gonna kind of lightly pat it all the way around the orbital bone. I don't usually take this like up to the lash line. I don't usually take this, all over the eyelid. The skin around the eye is super, super thin. It's like tissue paper. And if you've ever, accidentally or purposely gotten tissue paper in water, it'll pull water up, it'll pull moisture up, and the tissue around the eye is the same. So I find that you don't have to use as much product as you maybe were before. Yeah, it does quite well just around that orbital bone there. Okay, I'm just plowing through questions now. And like I said before, if I'm not able to get to your question in this time frame, definitely join us on the consult. The group consultation will have its own promo, it'll have its own kind of special offering, and it's a longer amount of time. So we're really able to talk about specific skin types and what products do well with those. So it might suit your needs, a little bit better than something that's kind of broad like this. Okay, Victoria's question. So can you use the wild fruit serum first and then apply the eye cream? You can. Yeah. I like the eye cream. I usually apply the eye cream over my moisturizer. That is personal preference. I have a lot of customers. I think the directions might even tell you to put it on uh before your moisturizer. Yeah, it does. So it's really 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. It kind of doesn't matter a lot where you put it. But usually you're going to make sure you're putting it after your serum. The weights are different. The serum is thinner than the eye cream, and so it might not absorb if you're applying it. Your serums might not absorb the same way if you're applying it before the facial serum. So that's a really good question too. Okay. Sherry seems to get a red patch on her cheek, probably due to too much gardening and sun exposure. That's very possible. The a red patch could be, it sounds like either way, there's a strong suspicion that this is being activated by sun exposure. We haven't gotten into it at all, but we've got our basic routine, but Sun Love, so this is our morning sunscreen product, is typically included in your morning routine. This is your final product before you put makeup on, so it goes on under makeup. But if you're noticing that your skin is responding to the sun, whether that's with red, whether that's with brown, whether that's with, sunspots that were already there that are looking a little bit darker, all of that, having regular, consistent protection with a mineral sunblock, this is a zinc oxide sunscreen, can be very, very helpful for that. And it doesn't take much. So if I'm working with somebody who's working on, really lightening some dark spots on their face, we talk a lot about sunscreen. Sunscreen is something that gets often overlooked, that can be, kind of like, oh, I don't really need it today, but it does not take much UV for the melanin to be activated, for there to be this response in the skin that shows up as either red or brown. So, and that can be expanded on. So you could, definitely make sure you're wearing your Sun Love, but it also could look like you get a bigger hat, a nice wide brim hat, or you take more breaks, or you're reapplying your sunscreen more frequently, or options, options, options. But just really making sure, I do encourage direct sun exposure. I think that the way your body synthesizes vitamin D, this is important for your health, your vision, your whole circadian rhythm, and also You want to make sure you're doing it kind of on purpose and not overdoing it to the point where you're starting to notice sun damage. So yeah, that is that. Okay. Lisa, what toner and serum would be best for mature skin? I will be 65, God willing. Happy birthday early. 65 is a beautiful age. My mother is 65. What toner and serum would be best for mature skin? Well, you've got kind of a lot of options, but if your sole focus on skin is on skin that is starting to show signs of aging, I would recommend either the Botanical Hydration Mist or Rose Hydrosol. That'll kind of come down to how dry you are or how sensitive you are. If you're drier and more sensitive, Botanical Hydration Mist. If your skin's fairly normal, you might stick with the Rose Hydrosol. Serum wise, you could do, I would be remiss to not suggest the wild fruit serum. Wild fruit serum is my absolute favorite. Wild fruit serum is going to be addressing a multitude of things, including dry, dehydrated skin, including dark spots on the skin, including fine lines, including creasing, including drooping. The wild fruit serum covers such a broad sweep of needs that it is incredibly supportive, especially if you've got more than one sign of aging. The wild fruit serum does really well. And if you can handle it, if you like having a more expanded routine, I would also add on that you would probably benefit from the activated night serum in the evening. So doing this one as part of your evening routine. Now, you don't have to do two serums. Sometimes for people that gets a little bit complicated. If you've got to pick one, I would probably go with wild fruit. But if you've got it and you want to kind of boost your routine, the activated night serum in the evening is a pretty good one. So perfect. Okay, great. You're so welcome, Jackie. All right, we have 1 minute, and I see that there are several questions here that I don't think I'm going to have time to get to. If you aren't able to join us for the consult, totally understand. You can certainly send your questions in to us at ask@annemariegianni.com. But Grace, if you'll share one more time the link to the consult, that's going to start here in a minute. I'm probably going to refill my tea real quick before I hop on to that one. But would love to just continue the conversation and get that answered. Also, final reminder that we do have our promo going on for this call specific. So this coupon code, this ASC 30 minute is just for you guys. You are able to get 25% off on the site and then also a free full-sized illuminating pearl mask. And the pearl mask is great for dark spots. It's great for sensitive skin. It's great for dry skin. Very, very wide sweep. Also, just for everyone, leaves the skin absolutely radiant and glowing. So join us if you can. If you can't, feel free to send your questions over. Also, final reminder, if you're watching this later, that the promos are not live anymore, so that's complete. But otherwise, thank you. Thank you guys for joining. Excuse me, joining us. And